Hey, what's up everyone? Jaquan here. And this week's episode, we got myself playing Blurple, and we got a special match for you guys here because this is going to be the Reign of Jafar Set Championship Finals. Now I'm going to be up against the red-blue items version, so Ruby Sapphire, and we did face on round 1 of the set champs, and I did happen to lose that. So now here we are again in the finals, duking it out, seeing if I can get my revenge and taking first place. So with this Blurple deck, I did also put in a spicy tech, as you can see here, like the Donald Duck. And this Donald Duck helped me quite a bit actually with slowing down a lot of the aggro decks, such as, you know, the Rhino aggro decks for Amber Steel and even Pirate's Life and, the Amethyst Steel decks out there, you know, with the Cobra and Goats that you always have to deal with. So having the Donald Duck, I feel like, was a really good inclusion in the Blurple deck, because it just allows you to come back just a little bit here if you happen to draw the right cards. So because we did seeded, so the highest seed can choose to go first. The red-blue player is the higher seed, so he will choose to go first out of a best of 3 game, untimed. And let's see what he starts it off with. We are playing my friend Ray here, and he's a really seasoned Ruby Sapphire player. He's been playing Ruby Sapphire since, you know, the deck practically got invented. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but we'll see if we can actually beat him on this one. He does start off with a turn 1 Popsicle, passes it over to us, and unfortunately I did not get a turn 1 Popsicle as well, regardless of mulliganing. I believe I mulliganed 6 and then drawing that additional card as well for turn. But it looks like he's off to the races because he was able to get the Azurite Sea, inking that, playing the Azurite Sea and inking the Maui Half Shark and a Vitalisphere. Now I did manage to get the Popsicle here on turn 2, however unfortunately I did not get my turn 2 ramp. So no turn 1 Popsicle and no turn 2 ramp. I was hoping to get that, you know, in this particular matchup. Especially going second, we're really going to be on an uphill battle. So unfortunately I did have to take one whole turn off just to play the Popsicle, hopefully drawing us a ramp and playing it on the next turn there. So we're super behind right now. But as long as, you know, the Ruby Sapphire player doesn't set up their Maurice's workshop with Popsicles and their Tamatoas, we might still have a fighting chance. So he did play Scrooge and passed his turn. So we ink our Tamatoa and playing the Merlin Crab. So for our 3 drops, I have the Bell, of course, and we also have the Merlin Crab and the Foxes of 3 ofs. Now I did play Merlin Crab here because if, let's just say, I did have the Bell and I played that first, the Crab would have been a little bit better because I could technically sing it with the friends on the other side and then also bounce it back with the Fox and have a little more utility in case he gets out anything else. Unfortunately, he was able to set up the Maurice's workshop with a Popsicle, allowing him to draw an additional card, because every single time you play an item, you can pay 1 ink to draw an additional card there. So he essentially drew himself 2 cards, being able to just have a nice fresh hand there to be able to fight in this matchup. Because in this particular matchup, the Blurple deck, you know, is relatively slow. It's a mid-range deck, and so is the Ruby Sapphire deck, right? It's Ruby Sapphire items especially takes a lot of setup, and they're really focusing on trying to get as much items on the board as possible while staying alive. And because we weren't able to have a nice curve of turn 1 Popsicle, turn 2 ramp, we are quite behind here. So we are going to be playing more to the end of the mid to end game here. So I'm thinking quite hard. Most likely I didn't have the friends, and at this point I just want to be able to keep the board presence and hopefully be able to just keep questing and be able to just replace my characters. Because when it comes to Ruby Sapphire, right, they could be playing things like Brawls, combined with Sapphire coils, and that's going to be super effective with comboing with the small Sisu that we need to be worried about. Now we did quests with the crab here, so we did get ourselves one lore, so it is currently 1-1 right now. And that Tamatoa being played will recycle his popsicles, putting those back to the hand. And it's going to be very hard for us to keep up at this point because we are not actually playing any hideaways or any just item removal in general. So we really just have to play to the board here, try to build up as much characters as possible and start questing out. This is also another reason why I like playing goats at 4, just because it's not only such a huge strength character that they're not able to brawl or Sisu, or small Sisu with the combined with the Sapphire coil, but it's also going to allow us to push for more lore. And because we are playing foxes as well, it does give us the opportunity to goat bounce goat, right, and potentially do that for game as well in the future. So he does have the Sapphire coil which he plays, and he uses the Maurice's Workshop to draw a card, playing a Popsicle, drawing another card, inking the bell, and the Sapphire coil, of course, is going to reduce the genie's strength by 2, making it 0 strength, and the Sisu is going to be able to take it out, which is not good for us because we really needed that genie to stick, because not only does he really don't have much evasive threats, but we need that genie to start questing for us. So I'm playing the Friends on the Other Side, and I'm choosing to hard cast it at this point. I didn't really find too much value on potentially singing it with Bell, and you'll see why. It's because I had the Merlin Crab being able to be played, giving the Bell 3 strength when challenging, being able to take out that Tamatoa. Now Tamatoa is a really big threat because they cannot let that Tamatoa quest to be able to play like a Lucky Dime or another Maurice's Workshop for free. So he's going to play another Popsicle here, drawing him another card, and then using Maurice's Workshop just to replenish his hand some more. He's going to ink the Grammatala, hard casting to play the Maurice's Workshop, and then drawing another card from the other Maurice's Workshop, and then questing one with Sisu. So man, his whole hand is like really big right now. So at this time he's just trying to find as much answers as possible, right, to be able to react to every single thing that I'm doing while building up his board presence with those items. Because again, the end game for Ruby Sapphire items is that they just want to build up those items, play Tamatoa, and then play the Lucky Dime, and then just quest and dime for game, right? So we're playing another Friends on the Other Side. And we're going to be singing, I believe we sang the Friends on the Side with the crab, and we also played the Popsicle as well. So we really need to try to find some more ramp to hopefully get us into Hades, and we do also play the Elsa Spirit of Winter as well. So that's what we do. We're trying to get up to that Hades to be able to keep playing Hades, taking out these Tamatoas, Maui Half Sharks, to be able to hopefully stay alive long enough for them to use out as much of their resources as possible, right? So after playing the Azurite Sea, we're going to have a look to see what we should be inking. Our hand size is still quite small right now compared to the Ruby Sapphire players, so we have to be very careful what exactly we're inking here, because every card matters at this point. Because we want to keep the goats, right? So goats is going to help us be able to win in this matchup here. So inking goats isn't going to be ideal alongside with fox, right? Because we can goat bounce goat. Okay, so we're inking the bell. And we're playing the Queen's Castle. So I do choose to play Queen's Castle here. Generally, I would have preferred to wait to force out a B prep and then throw down the Queen's Castle. But we only have, very few 4-drops that we can really play at this point. Because I want to save my goats, right, until later. Genies is probably just going to get brawled anyways. While right now, he needs to have a Sisu shift and maybe a Vitalosphere to be able to take out that Queen's Castle, right? So regardless, what I was thinking is Queen's Castle right now is going to at least put some pressure on the board, get us that 2 lore, and if let's just say he spends a whole turn doing something else, that Queen's Castle is going to hopefully stick around and giving us more cards by putting characters in there. So he does choose to ink the Pirate's Life. And I believe in the Ruby Sapphire items build, you don't play a full set of Pirate's Life, so inking the Pirate's Life is something that we would like to see. So he plays the Vitalosphere, and he's just counting right now. Most likely he does have the big Sisu in his hand, so he's just trying to make sure that he does have enough to shift into the big Sisu, and then playing the Vitalosphere to be able to take out the Queen's Castle. So because he did ink the Pirate's Life, the Sapphire Coil is going to reduce the Crab's strength by 2, being able to get taken out by a big Sisu here, and then playing a Vitalosphere and then taking out the Queen's Castle. So he had the most perfect out to this, which, you have to respect. So he has to, then he plays the Bell. That way he can just start to build up his board as well and be able to quest out next turn, right? Because like Bell is going to be able to trade into a lot of our characters fairly well. Like it trades into foxes, it trades into goats, it trades into our own bells. So having the Bell there, on top of that, he has plenty of cards in his hand. And being able to play that Bell for free, it was just really, really good. So right now, our priority is to get rid of that big Sisu because that thing quests for 3, right? This big Sisu and a dime together can be very, very deadly and speed up the win for the Ruby Sapphire player. So nonetheless, I do need to put on the pressure. So I play the Genie, drawing the card, and then I'm playing the Goat. So Goat, again, I don't mind playing the goats at this point in time because we know that Big Sisu has been dropped, so I don't have to worry about the goat being Sapphire coiled and then getting it banished by having the Sisu there, right? Because usually for Ruby Sapphire items build, they're only playing about 2, maybe 3 Big Sisus, right? So he does play the Sapphire coil, and then he plays a Maui Fishhook. So this is a very, very, very spicy tech. Because if he has a regular Maui hero at all, or even Maui Half Shark, you're able to activate that Maui's Fishhook for free. And then you can give evasive to any of your characters, right? So having that being able to get set up to be able to take out my Genie on the following turn if I choose to quest is a very, very strong play. Because I have to now second guess every single thing that I'm doing. Because if I'm questing with everything, all my characters are most likely going to be taken out. And he's just at this point trying to slow down the game as much as possible, control my board state, waste a lot of my resources, and then he can just gain back all the cards that he played with the workshops, right? So he's going to quest for 1 with the Bell, putting him to 8 lore, and then he passes turn. So ideally right now, we would want to see a Hades to hopefully get rid of that Sisu, and then be able to quest out with the Genie and the Goat. We also have to be very, very careful as well, as that when it comes to the Goat, we do want to abuse it. So sometimes it's not always ideal to quest with the Goat. Keeping the Goat and ready until you can draw maybe like a Madam and Fox or Snake is something that's, I would preferably want to do, right? But it just really depends on what types of cards you have in your hand. And, at this point, the Ruby Sapphire player does have plenty of cards here. So it might not even matter by keeping the Goat ready. We might just have to play it out in a very aggressive manner to try to just quest out for game as soon as possible, right? But again, we're only at 2 lore, not too many resources out right now. And he has a full set of items over there, right? So right now we also do play the Donald Duck Flustered Sorcerer. So Donald Duck is going to make it so the opponent has to quest to 25 lore to win the game, and that could also help slow down the game for us to be able to catch up. So I am going to banish both of the Popsicles, healing for 0, and then playing the Tamatoa, adding those Popsicles back to my hand. Because yeah, at this point, I'm just looking for card draw. We still have a small window here to come back. Trading in with that goat into the Sisu right now is going to be the best thing that we can do. Just because the Tamatoa and playing the 2 Popsicles did take up our whole turn here, right? Most likely we didn't have the Hades, otherwise we would have played the Hades and then quested out with goats and the genie, forcing the bell to challenge into our goat, taking the bell out, right? Okay, so we're questing for 2, taking us to 5. And again, I was debating whether or not to quest with the genie because of the Maui fishhook. But sometimes, you know, you just have to imagine that the opponent does have the out nonetheless. And sometimes there's really not much you can really do, right? So by at least playing the, or at least questing with the genie is going to force them to play a Maui Hero to All to be able to take out that genie, and that Maui Hero to All is going to cost him 5 ink to play, right? Slowing him down significantly, especially if he doesn't have any other items to draw with the workshop. We did have a small peek here at the Ruby Sapphire's hand, and it does look like he does indeed have the Maui Hero to All, and does also look like he has the Big Sisu Shift as well. And again, that's just from all the cards that he's been drawing with the Maurice's Workshop, on top of just sifting through his deck with, you know, how Pharaoh goes and Azurite Seas, right? So he is going to play Maui Hero to All, and then the Fishhook is going to be able to be played for free because he controls Maui, giving Maui Evasive, and now he has Evasive and Rush. So he inks the Brawl. Sapphire Coils are going to trigger, minusing 2 strength to the Tamatoa, and then minusing 2 strength for the Genie, so then Maui does not take any damage, and then he's going to play a Brawl, taking out the Tamatoa. So this item build does have more Brawls, more Sisus than usual, most likely because, again, like, he plays a full set of Sapphire Coils, so it's a very, very strong deck, right? You're building up your items while being able to put down combo pieces to go well with your removal. At this point, like, every single thing that we're playing is getting removed turn after turn, right? Eventually, we're going to run out of resources because even if, let's just say, we have Finders Keepers, we're not going to be able to develop our board, you know, spending one whole entire turn with that. So luckily for us, we did have the Tamatoa. At least Tamatoa puts a body on board while still giving us some card draw here through the Popsicles. And it looks like we did manage to draw a 3rd Popsicle playing that. So, you know, we did refresh our hand a little bit here, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. But we'll see, because he does have a Maui, and that Maui's not going to do too much aside from maybe being able to sing How Far I'll Go. So he's going to play a Tamatoa and bringing back the Vitalisphere and a Popsicle, playing that Popsicle, drawing him a card, and then paying 2 for both of his Maurice's Workshop to draw 2 additional cards. And this is the crazy thing about the Ruby Sapphire decks, right? Especially the item ones, is that when you're in control like this, you really don't mind spending all of your ink just to draw a bunch of answers for the following turn, right? Especially when, like me as the Blurple player, we only have 5 lore right now, and we're not going to do too much, right? The Ruby Sapphire player, he can develop his board, draw as much as possible through the Maurice's Workshops and Popsicle, and hopefully get himself a Pirate's Life, right? And that Pirate's Life, it can be sang through the Tamatoa. And let's just say even right now, if we did have a Monstro, the Monstro isn't going to do too much because it's only going to be able to rush into that bell. And in that Maui, Hero to All is going to be able to take out the Monstro there in one go. So we do instead play the Hades. Hades is going to ink the Tamatoa face down exerted. And then we're going to bounce the Hades back to our hand, playing the Fox, taking out the bell. So again, like he's at 10 lore. We don't want him to start questing out, right? Unfortunately, the Fox bouncing the Hades back to our hand was quite costly, and we did slowly lose a little bit of tempo there because, again, like now we don't even have any characters on board. And it didn't even matter that he had Maui, because Maui was actually indeed probably the best thing for him to be able to sing How Far I'll Go, making use of that Maui, right? Because there's nothing for him to challenge. And he's going to play 2 for another Sapphire Coil, and then paying the 2 ink there for the Maurice's Workshop, and then another ink for the third Maurice's Workshop. So keep in mind that you can actually, like, let's just say if you play the Popsicle, and then you activate one Maurice's Workshop, you can choose to look at the card from Maurice's Workshop and then choose to activate another Maurice's Workshop from there. So you don't have to activate them at the exact same time. You can do it one at a time, right? Obviously, in this case here, he does have quite a bit of ink, so he doesn't mind just, you know, inking, drawing, inking, drawing. But sometimes when you are limited to your ink, you do want to just look at that draws one at a time, right? Because you also want to be very, very precise. And especially like looking at this Ruby Sapphire player, he's been doing everything very, very precise. He's been counting his ink, making sure that he has enough ink to play out all his cards and to start answering the board, right? While developing his own board. So a very, very expert, again, Ruby Sapphire player, and we really like to see this on the channel here because we can learn a lot, right, from seeing players like this on the channel. So we are going to hard cast the Finder's Keepers, just really looking for something to play here. We do have a decent amount of cards, but keep in mind that sometimes Blurple cards can just stay in our hand because we don't have an insane amount of ink to start, spitting out like 2 or 3 characters, right? Usually it's like 1, maybe 2 characters per turn, because cards like Hades, like our top end, like Hades, Elsa, Monstro, they're all 7 to 8 ink, right, to play. But at this point, it's like, I'm really looking for goats, I'm really looking for foxes, just anything to slowly gain back some lore while also building up presence. And even like finding that Donald Duck can be very useful in this case too. So hard casted the friends on the other side, and then hard casting the Sail the Azurite Sea. Hopefully, at this point, my mentality is draw as much cards as possible, ink as much cards as possible, and then next turn maybe play enough character to swing back. So I did make a brief mistake here, inking an additional card, thinking that I played 2 Azurite Seas just from all the cards that I drew. But luckily we did catch that on time, and I did take back the bell. So we just inked the 2 Hypnotic Strength, since that's not really going to do too much in this matchup here. Hypnotic Strength was mainly in there for evasive characters to get an extra boost to challenge other evasive characters, and to also be able to take out illusion characters like Cobra and the Iago as well. So he's going to play a gold coin, another spicy tech, and then he's just going to draw a bunch of cards with the Maurice's Workshop. As you can see, like, his item pile is huge, right? He has 3 Maurice's Workshop, 3 Sapphire Coils, a play set of Popsicles and the gold coin, playing another Fishbone Quill, inking another card, inking a Tipo, so he's just inking just as much, if not a lot more, than what I can ink in one turn, because he has so many cards in his hand. He wants to ink out his whole hand and then just play all the big stuff. And so he's going to shift into Big Sisu, being able to quest for 3. And then he's going to play another Sapphire Coil. So he has 4 Sapphire Coils, 3 Maurice's workshops, 1 gold coin, 4 popsicles, and 2 the fishbone quill. So as of right now, like if he has Tamatoa and Dime, like we're just cooked. Do have like some ink right now, so we do have to think a little long and hard because that Sisu is also a threat that we need to start taking out right now. We still have that Hades in our hand from the Fox bounce, so Hades can be played and yeah, inking that Sisu, but as he saw, like there's so many items. He's at 11 lore. He shows me the Tamatoa and Dime. Because at the end of the day, like there's really nothing that I can do to come back, and there's also nothing that I can do to his hand, right? So having that Tamatoa and Dime just solidifies the game. So that was a pretty long, grindy game 1, but again, like unfortunately, we did not actually get the popsicle or even any of the ramp there. Hopefully in game 2 we can do a lot better here and get a comeback, and then taking us to game 3. So power shuffling is especially very important. I find, especially in set champs, like some people, they just shuffle their deck, you know, as per usual. But I personally think that, you know, power shuffling is going to unclog a lot of the cards that are stacked together. It just kind of almost guarantees you that the cards are going to be spread out in a more even manner, right? But yeah, that was a crazy, crazy game 1, and a very like expert showmanship from the Ruby Sapphire player. Just really being able to showcase, you know, his experience playing with the Ruby Sapphire, right? Again, like he's very, very patient. He doesn't need to want to win the game right away. It's always better to, you know, think about what exactly you're playing against. Blurple is naturally going to be a slower mid-range deck, so he knows this, and he knows that I also didn't have the popsicle and the turn 2 ramp, so he's gonna play out the long game. Because again, like I'm playing in an uphill battle, especially being the fact that we went second, right? So like there wasn't just like too much that we could have really done there. Because as you can see, like every single turn, he almost had an answer, right, to every single thing that we were playing. Through having Sapphire coils, just you know, lowering the strength on a lot of our characters and playing out the small Sisus, playing out the big Sisus, playing out the brawls, right? And that Maui's fishhook was insane. That Maui fishhook was able to take out our genie, which we really needed to start questing. But you know, looking at the overall game from game 1, that genie probably would have maybe quested, you know, 2 times for giving us 4 lore, and then probably would have got banished, right? In this matchup here, like genie isn't the greatest because genie can very easily be outed. So ideally, you know, we would want to have Merlin goats or Merlin rabbits, just so that way it's able to, like, you'll be able to get a draw from playing it and a draw from banishing it. But unfortunately, we don't play any of that in this particular Blurple build. But because we lost game 1, we will go first in game 2. And ideally, what we want to see here is Popsicle turn 1 with the bell, and then on turn 2, we want to see a ramp and hopefully our friends on the other side being able to sing that with bell, drawing us 2 cards. And that's usually like the best opening play that you could possibly have with Blurple. Now, a lot of times, like, you may not need Bell against this matchup because Bell doesn't really do too much outside of, you know, singing friends on the other side. But it is also crucial to note that we are playing against the item build, which is a lot slower. So Bell on turn 1 could be very useful in giving us more questing power early in the game here. So we're inking the Monstro, and then we're playing the Popsicle and then playing the Bell. So we did open a really nice turn 1 here. Really can't get any better than that. So he inks the Azurite Sea and also playing a Popsicle. very, very important right now to just be able to keep cards that you know that would benefit you at the beginning, or the cards for you to benefit later in the game there. So we're inking the Tipo and playing the Azurite Sea, and then singing the Friends on the Other Side with Bell. So we had the perfect turn 1, turn 2 play. The reason why I was thinking as well quite a bit is because the Tipo does provide us an additional ramp for us to get into Hades a lot quicker. But again, there was probably other cards in my hand that I just couldn't afford to ink with that Tipo, right? Because if I had goats or Madam Mim foxes, I need to keep those cards in my hand early in the game to be able to play out. So the additional ink, we're going to ink the Azurite Sea from the Azurite Sea, setting us up hopefully for a genie or goat on the following turn. In this matchup here, I am going to prioritize the goat to be played first, and only playing the genie later in the game once I know that, let's just say, he inked couple of brawls, or he doesn't have Sapphire coils, he doesn't have Sisus, because it's such a really big tempo loss for us, you know, losing that genie early in the game, right? Because the longer the game goes on, the higher percentage that the Ruby Sapphire player will be able to come back and win the game. So it looks like we quested with the Bell, and then we're inking the Elsa and playing the Goat. So again, Goat is going to allow us to at least keep a character on board, because he's going into 4 ink. If, let's just say, he does Sapphire Coil and playing the Sisu, he's not going to be able to take that out. He's not going to be able to take it out with Brawl either, so it guarantees at least 1 quest with that Goat. And he does hard cast the How Far I'll Go, meaning that he doesn't have Grammatala and he doesn't have Scrooge in his hand. But How Far I'll Go can be very scary in this situation, because he's going to be on to 6 ink the next turn, and if we extend too much into the board, he could just B-prep us. So we're going to quest for 2 with the Goat and the Bell, taking us to 4 lore. And now at this point I do want the card draw, so I am going to play the Genie and inking the Bell and passing turn. Could also be a possibility that it have, you know, anything else ideally to play. I could also have the Bell Shift, but Bell Shift doesn't do too much. I want to get as much card draw as possible for us to, you know, take a look at more options, right? And at least at this point, he doesn't have any characters established, so he could potentially waste a whole turn trying to get rid of that Genie, and then our Bell and our Goat is still free to quest out. Or if he does choose to develop his board by playing that Tamatoa there and adding back the Popsicles, it does allow us to quest in for 4 lore, taking us to 8. So we quested with the Goat, and then we bounced it back with a Fox, gaining us another lore. And then we're going to ink the Bell, since we really don't have much use for it right now, since we're not going to be wanting to challenge induce characters just yet. And that Tamatoa is going to be able to take out a lot of our characters nonetheless. So there's not going to be too much damage laying around for us to you know, start moving it around. And we just got to hope that the Tamatoa doesn't quest and play a Maurice's Workshop or dime for free, because then that's when it can start going downhill. And at this point as well, you know, keeping that Tipo earlier and playing it for that additional ramp could have technically helped us maybe play out a Hades to get rid of that Tamatoa. But if let's just say we did go that route, we wouldn't be at 9 lore right now. Alright, so he quests for 2 with the Tamatoa, being able to play Maurice's Workshop for free. And then he plays a Vitalosphere using the Workshop, drawing him a card. The Vitalosphere is also very scary because it sets him up for a Maui Half-Shark if he plays that. So he plays a Popsicle, drawing a card, taking a look at it first, and then figuring out whether or not he wants to do the Maurice's Workshop. Plays the Maurice's Workshop, drawing him another card. Because he doesn't really need to worry about establishing his board right now, right? His priority could just be drawing as much cards as possible, inking cards, and then just playing B-Prep. Because we're not going to win anytime soon, but he does also have to be weary that we do have the goat in our hand as well. So we're just trying to get into that goat range of 15, maybe 16 lore. And all he needs is one board wipe and in a following turn to play a Pirate's Life to be able to catch up. So he inks the Scrooge and then plays the Brawl, getting rid of the Genie, just because that Genie staying there questing another turn is just way too strong for him right now. And then he plays the Bell by removing the Popsicle. The Bell's also very strong in this case because if we do choose to quest with the Fox and the Bell, that Bell's going to be able to trade into any of our characters. So this moment in time, I am speculating whether or not this was the best move, but right now we are currently at 9 lore, and if we did quest out with the Fox and the Bell, it would take us to 11. But the other option as well that we have right now is to trade with the Fox and the Bell into the Tamatoa, taking it out, hopefully slowing down the Ruby Sapphire player just by a little bit. Because again, if he gets out another Maurice's Workshop or a Dime, he is going to be able to draw a whole ton of cards. And really all he needs is 1 or 2 turns to just come back, right? But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what exactly you would do in this situation here, right? If you would quest out with the Madam and Fox and the Bell, or if you would use the Fox and the Bell to challenge into his Tamatoa, right? Because if let's just say we did quest with the Fox and the Bell, his Bell's going to trade in with my Fox, that Tamatoa is going to take out the Bell, and then he's just probably going to heal it up anyways. But again, because we're halfway in winning the game and we do also have a goat in hand, it could also be a really good idea to just be as aggressive as possible and start questing out, forcing him to be reactive, right? Because if let's just say if we did go with that route, the Tamatoa challenging into one of our characters isn't questing, right? And if it's not questing, it's not playing an item for free. Okay, so we're playing out the goat, getting us another lore, taking us to 10. And at this point in time, we had 6 ink in total, and we most likely did not have a Hades. And even if we did have a Hades here, you know, I did also want to save the Hades for a Maui Half-Shark, because if a Maui Half-Shark does come down, it will completely stop us from questing any further, slowing down the game and allowing the Ruby Sapphire to squeeze in and come back. So at this point, I did choose to challenge into the Tamatoa with the Fox and the Bell. If I didn't choose to do that, I would be at 12 lore. So we'll see later in this game if that 2 additional lore actually mattered or not. So he inks the Tamatoa, heals with the Popsicle for 0, and then playing out another Tamatoa, adding back both Popsicles back to his hand, and then he quests 1 with the Bell and passes turn. we quest 1 with the goat, taking us to 11. Playing a fox, bouncing the goat back to our hand. And this would take us to 12. Inking an Iago and then playing the goat again. So now we should be at 13. And in this particular matchup, Iago doesn't really do too much. You know, we want to be able to quest as hard as possible. Like, Iago's perfect for, you know, trading into characters, and it's usually a 2-for-1. And especially in Ruby Sapphire, there's really not much you can do to just banish it right away by targeting it with an action. But right now he's setting up his items. So he's playing a Sapphire coil. Drawing a card with 1 Maurice's Workshop. Drawing another card with a 2nd Maurice's Workshop. Playing out a Popsicle, drawing a card. Drawing a card again with another Maurice's Workshop. And the 2nd Maurice's Workshop. So as you can see there, he practically just spent his whole turn drawing cards, which is very, very bad for us if we don't win next turn. And it's practically impossible for us to win next turn. So because next turn we could quest in to 15, and then even if we, you know, bounce the goat and play the goat again, that's only going to take us to 18 or 17. And, you know, with the amount of cards in his hand, he probably has maybe a Maui Half Shark. He could have a B Prep to slow down the game states, or even a Pirate's Life. So again, thinking back to that turn when we challenged in with the Tamatoa Happy as a Clam, we could have technically been at 15 lore right now, so keep that in mind. Meaning that if, let's just say, we have that goat and fox questing in, that would have taken us to 17 lore. And right now at this point, like, we don't want to challenge into any of these characters. We probably do have Hades in our hand right now. And I think earlier I did also see an Elsa Spirit of Winter. But we might not have too much that we can really use to ink right now. I think I see 2 Hades and 1 Elsa. And probably another card we don't want to ink. So we choose to play the Hades, trying to slow down the Ruby Sapphire's advance by inking his Tamatoa. And at this point, because he only has a Belle and a Scrooge, and we do have 3 characters on board, you know, Hades also being able to quest for 2, I am choosing to quest in with the Goat and Fox because I'm assuming that he's going to also have a B Prep in his hand with the amount of cards that he drew, right? So if he did have a B Prep, not questing with the Goat and Fox could also be potentially really bad for us too, because we really, really need the lore right now. Right now you have to really figure out what's going to be the best game plan as the Ruby Sapphire player to be able to not only take out the characters on board, but also to be able to watch out for another goat coming down as well, right? So you want to also be able to find that Pirate's Life if it's not in your hand already. Luckily, he has 2 Maurice's Workshops for him to be able to draw a lot of cards with. So he does play the Maui Half Shark, and he does also have a Vitalis Sphere as well, being able to use it, giving the Maui Half Shark Rush. And he's going to challenge into the Goat, taking it out, giving us 1 additional lore, taking us to 16. And then playing the How Far I'll Go with the Scrooge. Now, our friend, the Ruby Sapphire player, did forget to trigger a Maui Half Shark, and it does look like there was a How Far I'll Go and a Brawl as well. I'm not too sure if that really mattered, you know, going into the end of the game here. But either way, he was able to just take out every single one of our characters nonetheless, and then gaining back control of the board, and then also gaining a little bit of lore as well from the Maui Half Shark. So we're going to draw, inking the Teeple right away, since we have no use for it, and then we're going to play the Elsa, Spirit of Winter. And for sure we're going to freeze the Maui Half Shark. And I'm thinking here whether to freeze the small Sisu or the Scrooge, because the Scrooge could sing How Far I'll Go, and then the Sisu could also get shifted on, and then being able to take out the Elsa as well with the Sapphire coil. As of right now, if Elsa does survive 1 turn, it's going to take us to 19, and all we're going to need is just 1 Goat ability to win this game here. But we don't have too many resources in our hand right now. I believe as of right now, we only have 2 cards in our hand. So I'm going to choose to freeze the Sisu, because I just didn't want the Sisu questing for 3 lore. Because if he does have the big Sisu, he could also just, you know, sing it as well, right? If we froze the Scrooge instead. So I think Sisu was probably the better pick in this case. Now the Ruby Sapphire player really has to just focus on getting rid of the Elsa Spirit Away here, or Spirit of Winter. Going to ink the bell. Sapphire Koi is going to trigger, making the Elsa with a lower strength, and he's going to hard cast to play a Maui Half Shark. Playing an Azurite Sea, gaining 2 lore from both Half Sharks right now. And he probably doesn't have the big Sisu. He might just be looking for a Brawl instead. But because he did play an Azurite Sea, he could ink additionally, right? So as of right now, Elsa has 0 strength, and he could just, play out another small Sisu, being able to take out that Elsa very, very cleanly. And then now he's going to be able to quest in, taking him to 10, playing another Bell, and really just solidifying the board state here. So if we don't win in this turn, he's just going to be able to quest out with everything. And he also has 2 Maui Half Sharks, so any actions that he plays, he could just instantly win the game next turn. But at this point in time, we have 16 lore. It's either we get 4 lore right now from the ink that we have. I believe we only have 3 cards in our hand as well, so really not too many options here at this point. One other thing that could maybe potentially save us is that Donald Duck, but we only play 1 of. So we're going to play the Hades, inking that Maui Half Shark, hopefully slowing down the game enough for us to squeeze in a win. Because if Hades does happen to survive, we just need to get a goat and a bounce. Playing the Popsicle again and just drawing more cards from all the workshops that he has. Pay 2. Maybe he's trying to draw more cards to find Pirate's Life. Okay, so he's playing a Quill, using Workshop, drawing him a card. Drawing him another card from the Workshop. Oh, he might be trying to find B-Prep. Yeah, because he's questing in with everything. Taking him to 14. Oh, okay, he does have the Pirate's Life. Taking him up to 17, and then he also... Oh, he's singing the Pirate's Life with the... Now we have Shark, and then taking us down 2 lore, bringing it down to 14 for us. And he's going to play the B-Prep. Just to add extra assurance that, you know, we can't do any weird shenanigans winning us the game if the Hades is left on board. And then luckily for him, he does have enough items to be able to play out that Scrooge for free. And then also playing out that Bell for free as well by removing the Popsicle. So all the cards that he drew, it didn't even matter that he used all his ink, because he just have characters that he can play out for free. So we're hard casting the friends. At this point, we're just trying to find the Donald or bust. Playing Popsicle. Don't think we have enough for a Donald, but yeah, this was a very, very, very tight game 2 here. Unfortunately, in game 1, you know, we just couldn't really do too much. Game 2, we had a fighting chance, but you know, the Ruby Sapphire player was again extremely skillful. Was able to showcase a really well played game there. So kudos to him. Congrats on you know, winning first place for him. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy this type of content. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.